Have you ever felt like you're doing everything you're supposed to? Trying to eat healthy, you're making better food choices, you're going to the gym, you're drinking more water, maybe you downloaded MyFitnessPal a few times, yet every few weeks you find yourself thinking, why isn't my body changing? If that's you, I want to start off by telling you something that genuinely takes a huge weight off your shoulders. You're probably not failing because you lack motivation. You're probably not failing because you're lazy. You're probably not failing because your body's broken. You're failing because you've been given pieces of the puzzle, but not the whole picture. Think about how most women learn about nutrition. One person tells you that calories don't matter. The next person tells you calories are everything. Someone tells you carbs make you fat, then someone else tells you that you need to cut sugar. Another person says eat every 2 hours, then someone on Instagram is doing a detox. Another person is fasting. Another person says never track food. Another person says weigh absolutely everything. No one seems to agree. So what do? You try a little bit of everything, and after a while, nutrition starts to feel really confusing. The problem isn't that you haven't been trying. The problem is that you've never had somebody explain how all the pieces fit together. Because once you understand that, nutrition actually becomes incredibly simple. By the way, if we haven't met, hey, I'm Jess. Dan and I are the owners of JD Fitness Co., where we coach busy women how to lose fat, build strength, and completely change how they think about nutrition. Over the years, I've noticed something really interesting. The women who get incredible results rarely start by knowing more than anybody else. They don't have more willpower, they're not more disciplined, they're not genetically lucky either. They simply understand a few principles that everyone else has missed. Today I want to teach you those principles. Not so you walk away knowing another diet, but so you finally understand how your body works. Because once you understand that, you stop restarting every Monday, you stop feeling guilty every weekend, you stop wondering whether you're eating too much or not enough. Instead, you start making decisions with confidence. Now, before we dive in, I want to tell you something that surprises nearly everyone. We've had clients increase their calories from 1,200 calories a day to 1,800 calories a day and still be able to lose 8 kilos in 10 weeks. We've had clients whose clothes became looser in just 2 weeks, not because we put them on a crash diet, but because we fueled them properly. And we've had women become leaner and stronger, even though the scales didn't move in the way that they expected. Every one of those women started in a different place. Every one of them needed a different approach. And that's exactly why generic meal plans fail so many people. Over the next 30 minutes, I'll walk you through the 5 biggest lessons almost every successful client finally learns. The first one is probably the reason why so many women feel frustrated for so many years, because they're chasing the wrong goal. The first lesson is probably actually the biggest mindset shift of them all, because honestly, I don't think most women actually want to lose weight. But hear me out. When women message me, they'll often say things like, I want to lose 5 kilos. And then I'll ask them why. And almost every single time, the answer isn't actually even about the number. It's, I want a flatter stomach. I want my clothes to fit better. I want more toned arms. I want to feel more confident in summer. I want to build my glutes. None of those are weight loss goals. They're body composition goals. And that changes absolutely everything. Weight loss simply means your body weighs less. Body composition means changing what your body is made of. Reducing fat, building or maintaining muscle, creating shape. Losing weight or changing your body composition are completely different outcomes. And that's exactly why they require different strategies. One of the biggest mistakes I see women make is allowing the number on the scales to decide whether they're succeeding. You step on the scales Monday morning, it's down and you're happy. Then you step on the scales the next week and it's up. Now you're frustrated. Nothing likely changed, but your confidence became dependent on one number. Your body doesn't operate like that because your weight naturally fluctuates. Water, stress, sleep, salt, your period, a late dinner, a hard training session, All of these things can change your weight on the scale without even changing your body composition at all. And that's exactly why I tell every single client the scales are a part of the picture, but they're not the whole picture. It's one piece of information, it's not the whole story. One of my favorite examples of this is Cass. If Cass had have judged her progress by the scales, she probably would have thought nothing was working because her weight actually went up. Now imagine if she had have stopped there. Instead, she got stronger, she built muscle, she changed her shape. She looked leaner, her clothes fitted differently. She completely changed her body composition, even though her scales didn't show the whole story. That's why I say sometimes the scales are telling the truth, they're just not telling the whole truth. Rosie's story is another great example. Rosie lost 10 centimeters off her waist in just 10 weeks. Imagine that, 10 centimeters. Now imagine if she had only focused on the scales. She would have missed the one biggest change that was actually going on in her body. She was getting smaller in her waist. Her waist was shrinking, she was building muscle, she was changing shape. And that's the results that she actually wanted, not just to weigh less. That's why every client who joins us gets asked to take progress pictures, gets asked to take measurements, and gets celebrated for building strength. Because those things actually tell us what's happening long before the scales catch up. If your jeans fit better, your body has changed. If your body's getting stronger, your body has changed. If your waist measurement is going down, your body has changed, even if the scales haven't caught up yet. So here's the question I want you to think about. If I could wave a magic wand and in 12 weeks, you had the body that you wanted, but your weight stayed exactly the same, you lost body fat, you built muscle, your stomach was flatter, your clothes were fitting better, you were stronger, you had more energy, and you looked in the mirror and loved what you saw, would you really care what the scales said? Most women wouldn't, because the scales were never the goal. The body that they imagined was. So if body composition is the goal, then the next question we ask is, how do we create it? And that's where most women get stuck, because they think they're eating for fat loss, but in reality, they're just eating healthy. And unfortunately, those aren't always the same thing. Right, let's talk about calories next. Now that we've established that the goal isn't simply to just lose weight, let's talk about the biggest mistake women make when trying to lose body fat. Most women don't fail because they eat badly, they fail because of guesswork. And one of the first questions I ask them is, tell me about your nutrition. And almost everyone gives me a similar answer. I eat pretty healthy. I don't eat that badly. I don't eat that much. I've cut out sugar. I only eat whole foods. I don't really snack. They're usually telling the truth. Most women I work with are genuinely trying. The problem is, healthy eating isn't a strategy. Healthy foods are amazing for your body, but healthy eating doesn't automatically mean you're eating the right amount for your goal. Think about it like this. Imagine two women both eat salad for lunch. One salad might be 400 calories, the other salad 900 calories. They're both healthy, they're both full of nutritious ingredients, but if one of the woman's goals is fat loss, those two meals are going to produce very different outcomes. That's why I don't teach women to simply eat healthy. I teach them to understand how much they're eating as well. Because once you understand that, nutrition suddenly becomes far less confusing. This is also why I don't love generic meal plans. It's not that meal plans are bad. It's just that meal plans don't teach you anything. You follow the meals, maybe you lose weight, then the plan ends, then what? You don't know how to eat at a cafe. You don't know how to adjust your calories. So then you go looking for another meal plan, another reset, another challenge, another detox, and the cycle just keeps repeating. That's exactly what we wanted to change with the JD Nutrition Hub. We didn't want you dependent on another meal plan. We wanted you to learn to understand nutrition. Let me give you a real example. Emma came to us eating 1,700 to 1,800 calories a day. Now, a lot of people think if I'm not losing weight, I should just eat less. That's exactly what most coaches would have told her. Drop to 1,500 calories, drop even less, maybe 1,300 calories. We didn't, because nutrition isn't about eating the lowest amount of calories possible. It's about finding the calories that make sense for your body. Emma already had very little wriggle room to drop too much lower. So instead, we focused on supporting her body properly, improving her nutrition, building a better foundation, strength training. Within just 2 weeks, she was sleeping better, she had more energy, and her clothes were fitting better. That's what happens when you stop assuming that eating less is always the answer. Now compare that to Kaylee. Completely different women, completely different starting points. Kaylee was already eating 2,100 calories. Because of where she started, we could move her into a fat loss phase much faster. She lost 3 kilos in just 5 weeks with better meal structure, protein-led meals, and just 2 strength sessions per week. Notice something really important. Those 2 women didn't follow the same plan because they're not the same person. This is probably the biggest lesson I hope you take away today. There are no magic calorie numbers. Not 1,200 calories, not 1,500 calories, not 1,700 calories, not 2,100 calories. Those numbers only have meaning when you understand the person behind them. That's why I cringe when I see meal plans that are 1,600 calories, because for most women, that's absolutely nowhere near enough. Nutrition isn't one size fits all. The first thing we do with every client is establish their baseline first. Not what an online calculator says, not what a friend is eating, not what an influencer says. Their baseline. Because if we know exactly where we're starting from, we can make intelligent decisions from there. No guessing, no extremes, just a personalized strategy. Now, once we know what somebody should be eating, there's another piece that changes almost everything. And honestly, it's the one nutrient that I believe has the biggest impact on body composition: protein. Now let's talk about why that's so important. Now we've talked about calories. And the next question becomes, what should those calories actually be made up of? And if there was one nutrient I wish women understood better, it would be this: protein. Not because protein's magic, not because protein burns fat, but because protein makes everything else work so much better. When most women hear the word protein, they immediately think bodybuilders, protein shakes, chicken and broccoli. Or they think, I probably don't need that much because I'm not trying to build heaps of muscle. But the thing is, protein isn't just about building muscle. Protein is about protecting the muscle you already have while you're losing body fat. Because remember, our goal isn't to simply just weigh less. Our goal is body composition. We want to lose body fat without losing the muscle that's giving your body shape. Think of muscle like the frame of a house. Body fat is everything sitting on top of that frame. If all you do is diet, you can end up shrinking everything. You become a smaller version of yourself. But if you keep your muscle whilst reducing body fat, that's when your body starts looking a lot firmer, leaner, more toned. That's the look that most women are actually chasing. One of the biggest patterns I see is women eating toast for breakfast, sandwich for lunch, pasta for dinner, and a few snacks in between. Now, it's not that there's anything wrong with those foods, but when we actually look at the day, they've only eaten around 50 or 60 grams of protein. Their body is asking for more. So they're hungry, craving foods like sugar, chocolate, snacking at night, and then they think they have no willpower. But often they're simply just under eating protein. Kaylee is a great example. She lost 3 kilos in 5 weeks. Not because we put her on some crazy diet. We helped create better meal structure, protein-led meals, and she did just 2 strength sessions per week. Notice what didn't happen. We didn't tell her to stop eating carbs. We didn't tell her to stop eating with her family. We simply made protein a priority. Emma's story highlights protein and the benefits of fueling your body properly. Within just 2 weeks, she had better energy, she was sleeping better, and her clothes were fitting better. Was it all because of protein? No. It was because her body was finally getting what it needed, and protein was an important piece in that puzzle. One of the easiest changes I get clients to make isn't eating less. It's building every meal around a quality source of protein. Instead of asking, what am I having for breakfast? Ask, what's my protein going to be? Then build the rest of the meal around it. The same for lunch, the same for dinner, the same for snacks if you need them. It's a really simple shift, but it changes everything. Here's another mistake I see. Women become obsessed with perfection. They think, I need to hit my protein target exactly every single day. You don't. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is consistently eating more protein than what you were before. Every improvement matters. If you're only eating 60 grams right now, getting it up to 90 is a huge win. Then maybe 100, then maybe 120. It's progress, not perfection. We've covered body composition, we've covered calories, we've covered protein. But here's the interesting thing. Knowing all of this isn't enough, because knowledge doesn't change your body, your habits do. And that's why the women who get the best results aren't the women with the most nutrition knowledge. They're the women who become the most consistent. Now let's talk about consistency and why it beats perfection every single time. At this point, you might be thinking, okay, Jess, I understand body composition now. I understand calories a little bit better. I understand protein. So why is it that so many women still stay stuck? Because knowing and doing are two completely different things. Tell me if this sounds familiar. Monday, you're motivated. You've meal prepped. You bought all the healthy food. You tracked everything. Tuesday goes well. Wednesday gets busy. Thursday, the kids have sport. Friday, somebody suggests takeaway. Saturday, there's a birthday. Sunday, you think, I've blown it now. So Monday, you start all over again, and the cycle repeats every single week. The problem isn't takeaway. The problem isn't birthdays. The problem isn't weekends. The problem is believing that one imperfect meal ruined everything. It didn't. You know what ruins progress? Quitting for 3 days because of one meal. One meal never made anybody overweight, just like one salad never made anyone healthy. Your body responds to what you do consistently, not occasionally. One of my favorite examples is Nat. Nat won our 10-week challenge and completely changed her body composition through consistent training and nutrition, not extremes. People often look at transformations like Nat's and assume she must have been so disciplined. That's not what made the difference. She stayed consistent, she didn't need to be perfect, she just kept showing up. The same goes for Katie. Katie has now lost 8 kilos since starting with us. That didn't happen because she had one incredible week. It happened because she had lots of ordinary weeks. Weeks where she trained, weeks where she ate well most of the time, and weeks that got busy. But she didn't stop, she kept going. That's what real progress looks like. It's actually quite boring. And that's a good thing, because boring is sustainable. I want you to imagine a scale from 1 to 10. 10 out of 10 is perfection. Every meal is tracked, every workout is done. Everything goes exactly to plan. Now imagine somebody who lives at 10 for 2 weeks and then burns out. Stops completely, starts again next month. Now imagine another woman. She lives at 7, week after week, month after month. Who do you think gets better results after a year? Every single time. It's the woman at 7, because consistency always beats intensity. One of the things I tell clients all the time is, I'm not trying to build your motivation, I'm trying to build your normal. I want strength training to become normal, protein to become normal, meal planning to become normal, going for a walk to become normal. Because once healthy habits become normal, that's when they stop feeling hard. So here's the question I want you to ask yourself. Are you building the perfect week? Or are you building the habits that you'll still be doing this time next year? Because those two things are very different goals, and only one of them leads to lasting results. Now, there's one final piece to all of this. We've talked about body composition, protein, calories, and consistency. But none of those matter if you're trying to force somebody else's plan to fit your life. Because the best nutrition plan isn't the strictest one. It's the one that you can keep doing. Let's finish by talking about how to build a nutrition plan that fits your life, not somebody else's. So now you understand the principles. You know the goal isn't simply to lose weight, it's to improve your body composition. You understand why calories matter. You understand why protein matters. You understand that consistency will always beat perfection. So the question becomes, how do you actually put all of that together into a plan that works for you? Because this is where I see most women get stuck. They understand information, but they don't understand how to apply it to their own life. They know protein is important, but how much should they be eating? They know calories matter, but how much should they actually be eating? They know consistency is important, but what does consistency look like when you've got work, kids, holidays, and life happening? And that's the difference between information and a system. One thing I hope you've noticed throughout this masterclass, every client I've spoken about had a different starting point. Emma needed a completely different approach to Kaylee. Rosie measured success differently to Cass. Some of them weren't chasing weight loss. Some of them wanted to be strong again. Others wanted more confidence. Different women, different goals, different lives. And yet they all improved. Not because they all followed the same meal plan, not because they all ate the same amount of calories, not because they all trained the same way. They improved because they all followed the same process. We started by understanding where they were. We built a plan around their life. We adjusted it as they progressed. And we focused on habits they could actually maintain. That's what coaching really is. It's not handing someone a meal plan. It's giving them a system that helps them make good decisions over and over again. So if I could leave you today with 5 things from this masterclass, it would be these. First, stop chasing a number on the scales. Start chasing a stronger, healthier body. Second, stop guessing your nutrition. Understand where you're starting before making changes. Third, make protein a priority. Not because it's trendy, but because it actually supports the body composition that you're trying to achieve. Fourth, stop trying to be perfect and aim to be consistent, because consistency always wins. And finally, stop looking for the perfect diet and build a system that actually works for your life. Because that's the difference between seeing results for a few weeks and changing how you eat for years. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, Jess, this actually makes sense. For the first time, I understand why I've been stuck, but I still don't understand exactly what I should do next. That's exactly why we created the JD nutrition system inside our hub, because understanding the principles is one thing, and applying them to your life is another. After coaching women for years, I realized I was answering the same questions over and over. How many calories should I eat? Should I increase my calories or should I decrease them? How much protein do I actually need? What should I eat when I'm busy? How do I make this work with my family? And I realized something. Women weren't failing because they lacked motivation. They were failing because nobody had ever shown them the whole picture. The same process we've used to help women build strength, lose body fat, and gain confidence. And we put it all into one place. Not as another meal plan, not as a challenge, not as another set of food rules, but a step-by-step system that helps you make nutrition decisions for yourself. Because that's my goal. I don't want you relying on another diet. I want you to understand nutrition well enough so that you don't need one. Inside the hub, you'll work through each step in order. We'll establish your calorie baseline so you can stop wondering whether you're eating too much or too little. You'll know when eating more is actually the right decision and when it's time to create a deficit. You'll learn how to build protein into your meals without overcomplicating things. You'll learn how to structure meals around work, kids, and family life. You'll have practical meal ideas, recipes, calculators, guides, and simple tools that will help you apply everything we've covered today. Because information is interesting, but implementation is what changes your body. The hub is for women who are tired of guessing, who are done jumping from one diet to the next. who want to stop relying on motivation and finally understand what they're doing, who want confidence around food, who want a way of eating they can actually maintain, who want to know why they're making changes, not just be told what to do. If that's you, I would genuinely love to have you inside. Work through the lessons at your own pace, come back to them whenever you need. Use the calculators, try the recipes, apply the tools, and start building a way of eating that actually fits your life. Because I truly believe that nutrition shouldn't feel confusing. It shouldn't be restrictive. It definitely shouldn't feel like something that you have to start over again every single Monday. My hope is that the JD Nutrition Hub gives you the knowledge and confidence to make good decisions for years to come. I can't wait to see what you can achieve. I'll see you inside.